Good afternoon. Am I audible? So, firstly, Anurag, had you been 5 minutes late, I would have stood up and said, I'm Anurag Batra. So, you took it away from me. So much for coming on time. So, it's a pleasure being here. Anurag was talking about blockchain. Let me just pick up one thing right off the bat on that one. We've all heard how much there have been accusations on electronic voting machines and rigging. Just think about this. Blockchain and electronic voting machines, just insert that little piece of code there. And right there, you have the biggest installation of blockchain anywhere on this planet. So that's what India is about in my mind. That is the beauty about this country, that anything we do, it just naturally plays to scale. So really, when I saw this topic, when Anurag and Chetan reached out and said, let's talk about tech tours and let's talk about future fit, I think what came to my mind is I literally flashed back in 1999. How many of you were seeing the transition from 1999 to 2000? How many of you are old enough to see the transition? Just show of hands. Not surprising, not very many. So it's obviously good it's a young crowd and it's a startup crowd. I remember that time. It was panic. It was panic. People are talking about Y2K. I don't know how many of you even know about that, but there was a transition from 2 digits to 4 digits, and hence lifts would stop, and planes would stop, and things would not work, and there was all that paranoia at that time. The moment Y2K went by, it was the morning of, let's say, 1st January. I distinctly remember how quickly we all humans changed the topic. Everyone forgot Y2K. The next fancy number was 2020. We're sitting in 2000. And we're talking about 2020. It was so simple because it rhymed well, 2020. So companies were creating 2020 plans. Investors were talking about, okay, what's your 2020 vision? Everyone was talking about 2020. You're 20 years away. What are you talking about? But time flies. We're sitting in 2020. What day is it today? 17th? Whatever. We're somewhere in the middle of January. It's 2020. We're right here. But what's happened in 20 years that have passed by is pretty profound. These 20 years literally created the foundation of the digital world we are in. Think about it. Today, you take so many things for granted, how reservations happen. Simplest. You're booking a flight, you're booking a ticket, you're booking a show. It's taken for granted. Somebody must be out there who's offering that as a service. To how IoT's taken over life, to how we're talking about enterprises being digital, to how supply chains are digital. Financial transactions are all digital. It's practically insane to think banks will even need real estate. Today we can think about that. It's all happened in 20 years. But what's also happened in these 20 years is, in my mind, founders, startups. How many startups here, by the way? I love it, Anurag. Yes, you're a startup. By the way, I love that about him. You have such a dominant position, and thinking of yourself as a startup, Anurag, hats off to you. Great stuff. You have to disrupt yourself, absolutely. So, and by the way, I saw Havels here. Huge admiration. So alongside Business World, huge admiration for that company. It's an old age company. It's a very fundamental old world company. How much has Havels innovated? It's incredible. I didn't know, by the way, that Havels was one of the sponsors here. Huge admiration for the company. So if anyone is from Havels, kudos to you guys. Coming back, so in these 20 years, literally the world has taken digital for granted. But you know what is now going to happen? Because it's for granted, velocity of change that's going to come on the back of the digital is going to be even faster. So if we thought we have lived in fast times and 20 years went by and here we're sitting on 2020. Trust me, I don't think we can make a plan for 2040. We made a plan for 2020 in 2000. I don't think we can make a plan for 2040. I think it's going to be ridiculous. I don't even know whether I can plan when I do my fund outlay for 2025. I honestly don't think I can. I think what we will have to start getting ready, you founders, you startups will have to start getting ready for is, are you ready for change? Not are you ready for something? Because you cannot predict that something. So the only thing you can be ready for is how agile are you? How change ready are you? And it doesn't matter whether you're a digital startup, you're a digital enterprise, or you're a not digital startup, you're a physical brick and mortar enterprise. In all practical purposes, what really will be the real tipping point of your success is going to be, can you adopt faster than the next person to you, than the next company to you, than the next competitor to yourself? If you can, that's what people like me will be looking for. People like me will only be smelling one thing. And when I say me, I'm referring to myself as an investor. I'll only be smelling for one thing, which is how agile are you? How change ready are you? Can you really pivot fast? This word pivot has become part and parcel of our life. Just look inside yourself and ask yourself, are you comfortable with change? Honestly, it's not easy. And when I look at the mirror and ask myself that question, I'll be very candid with you. I'm not. I'm not. Change is tough. But you know what? People are going to expect that from you. Your employees are going to expect that from you. Your investors are going to expect that from you. Your competitors will be challenging you on that. And that's why I looked at Anurag when I said, I'm amazed, Business World or Havels, all these names, how have they expanded? How much have they disrupted themselves? So what I really wanted to get to, really the central part of my thought, and I don't prepare before I come to talk because I genuinely think that it's the morning of when you're going to talk that really matters. What thought came to your mind? This morning, literally the thought that came to my mind was, change, we are all building organizations when we're saying we're disrupting. We think we'll disrupt somebody else. I think you innovate for somebody else. You disrupt yourself. So flip it around. Are you internally a disruption force? Are you challenging yourself, your status quo, your employees? Why should your employees stay with you? Ask that question. I've had a business where we had a pretty decent or above average market position. And literally in 2 weeks, 60% of our workforce left us. We were gone. Practically shut it down. Practically, it's limping along. Practically shut it down. Why should your employees stay with you? Why should your customers stay with you? What did you do today? What did you do yesterday that they should stay with you? We're living in very, very fast times. So internally, you got to be asking yourself, what will destroy me? We literally had a phrase in one of the businesses we lived in. We used to call it DYB. How many of you heard of DYB? Wow, nobody. DYB stands for destroy your business. Ask yourself what will destroy your business every day. And do it yourself. Turn it in and destroy your business yourself. Because if you destroy internally, you will innovate externally. We try to innovate internally and destroy externally or disrupt externally. Doesn't work. Nobody is here to buy your disruption. Nobody, let me tell you. Nobody has the audacity to buy disruption. People have the audacity to buy innovation. So where you really control disruption is internally. And that really gets down to becoming very, very, very self-aware. Again, coming back to me as an investor, we look out for people, as investors, and I'm sure I'm talking for other investors who are here. Literally, the single most important thing today is not how fancy your business is, not how great your unit economics are. It's not how dominant your market position is. It's how self-aware are you. So you want to be future fit, you got to be self-aware. You got to be internally disrupting yourself, your business. And that, to me, is the single most pivotal thing. The way this starts changing in a wrong way is where you start taking people like us important. And I'll explain you what I mean, people like us important. Most of you startups out here actually put investors as the number one thing. Absolutely wrong. We should be number 10 on your list, because if number 1 to number 9 is what you're doing and how you're doing and how you're winning and how you're changing and how you're self-aware, number 10 will get taken care of. I really, really am surprised how important we are made to be. And the way this manifests in a negative way is when you make investors very important, you start playing to the gallery. You start talking things you're not. You start sounding those sound bites which are very acceptable, very conformist. Everyone wants to know the DAOs and the MAOs. Everyone wants to know about how your clicks are going up and how your impressions are going up. Honestly, it'll break apart in few months if you haven't got the fundamentals under control. And the only way the fundamentals are under control is if you know what business you're building and if you know yourself. So really, my central message, my thoughts as you guys start today's session and as you go into the receiving the winners in the evening is look internally, disrupt internally, innovate externally. Have simple, your business will one day disrupt. I'm sure it will. But how many moonshots have we seen? Anurag kept referring to Elon Musk. Even today we have 3, 4, 5, 7 names. Are you telling me 3, 4, 5, 7 companies are successful? No. Thousands and thousands of companies are successful. The thousands that are successful are not doing loon shots and moonshots. They're not disrupting, they're innovating. So please be a great innovator. Please disrupt internally. Please build great business models. That's all I can say. I'm happy to take questions. I think we still have some time if Chetan and Anurag feel so. Happy to take any questions. Yes? Yep, absolutely I can. So, destroying your business, and I took the example of employees, so obviously that, I'm not going to take that one, but let me take the simple example of click and brick, right? How many of us started off businesses in a pure click environment and today are embracing brick? That is understanding that the brick competitors of yours are people, are businesses who are very sound. If you do not do something, either upstream, downstream in the value chain, either as partners or something, you're going to lose out to them. End of the day, let's take any retail business today, and we have Milo here, right? So one of those retail businesses. Take any retail business. Can you substitute reach? Can Amazon substitute reach? No, they can't. Nobody can substitute reach. End of the day, people like to touch and feel. Are you embracing that in your innovation? More as an internal disruption rather than saying, I'm here just to disrupt externally. Are you internally figuring out that the Kirana store is actually your biggest disruption? That figuring out how it comes in your delivery model is your disruption. And that will internally affect you, so therefore you might have it externally as well. And I'm sure all of you know the models are intense and there are many examples, but it all is about being open to realizing what you started off with will not stick around. So how are you embracing it?
Awesome. I love the way you started with destroy your business, but I prefer the way you ended, which is disrupt your investor. and the reason I say that is because we have no idea how poorly the investors are invested and entrenched in a technology that they understood made them money once. And they don't want to change that.
Yep.
And we had a lot of struggle like this, and I'm glad you brought back the 90s memories. Some of my boys who worked with me then now are presidents in companies. But they're all surviving because they re-tech their investors.
Yep.
That the money that you've got and where you put it isn't going to be the same. And money has color, and money makes businesses. Tell us a little more about that. How do you re-educate your investors to look beyond that old little factory that's already gone, but you're dying to make money out of it?
That's a great question, and obviously it goes back.
Natranjan Bohedar.
That obviously goes back to people like us, right? So when you talk about educating your investors, I honestly think you can't educate them. I think they will end up getting educated when people stop chasing them. And that'll start happening when you're building very, very simple, when you're building businesses on fundamentals. We don't build businesses on fundamentals. Actually, I'm going to take your question on a thread that I had in mind, but I didn't cover it. Today, when we are taking digital as a given, as a foundation, we don't understand that because it's a foundation, innovation in digital is not the business. The innovation is what you're offering. Digital is what you have. And I'll take a small example for that. Today, when you look at a Zomato or a Swiggy and you're looking at your dispatch, right? That the courier has left. Now the courier is here. Now they're 5 minutes away. Now they're going to be outside your door and they're going to ring the bell and all that. That might have been an innovation a few years ago. Today, you take that digital widget or that digital component, and if you're a company which needs to know where the disposition code of a dispatch to an arrival is, you will deploy it in 5 minutes. That is not innovation. That today is taken as a given. So, think about it from an investor's perspective. Investors are actually trailing you all. They're not leading you. Investors make it believe that they are giving you a clarity about where you should be going. How many of us know where we are going? How will we tell you where you're going? You're here to set your own course. You're here to tell investors where you are going, why you will make money, why it's worth their while. And you know what? The one investor who will get it is the right investor for you, and the ones who don't get it, honestly, they learn at their own expense. But very quickly, this has already started changing. I genuinely think investors in the West, at least, have started becoming very, very, very sane. In India, I still think, and this goes back to my opening point, the scale and the volumes are so large that the hubris and the belief of large scale-ups still fools most of us. It isn't. India is millions of micro markets. India is not billions. It's a big fallacy that India is billions, we're building a business on billions. You don't. Well, some Ubers and some Olas and some Swiggies and some Zomatos will. Honestly, tens of thousands of us will not. Accept it, innovate for tomorrow, wait for day after. When day after, you'll see a big break. But don't die tomorrow. You got to live tomorrow to see day after. That's fundamentally what I think.
Yes. Thank you for your brilliant and out-of-the-box speech. It was very disturbing to some of persons like me who are from the public sector, because the way you have given the fundamentals of business, whether the government or the public sector undertakings are equipped to disrupt, to change, and to introspect. Thank you.
Yep, I'm sure.
There are founders here who may want to scale up this business. Kaushalendra is there. He's doing something in the investing fintech space, has raised about $38 million. There's Trishneet in the security space. He's raised $32 million. 32 or 38? $32 million, raising another $40 million. And really, his investors are really blue chip. Samiran is the CEO of the India business of ICANN, the internet registry. So what do you, now they're looking to scale up. And in technology, what's hot today may not be hot tomorrow. You talked about how suddenly it becomes yesterday. You know, Y2K
Absolutely.
gone, 2020 seems like. And I was thinking, disrupt yourself. Maybe Rahul Gandhi is listening to you. But there were other jokes that I'm not cracking. I only cracked with Trishneet. So what do you see in them? Give us a real answer. Like, what are the sectors? How do they scale up? A lot of them focus a lot on funding and not building the business. Give us some real stuff.
Yeah, Anurag, it's very difficult for me to give real stuff as a sector, and you did a far better job than I would, but I'll give you something else. I think increasingly, people would want to relate with people who understand what they're doing. For the longest ever, people have thought that outsiders come and disrupt, right? You think, oh, there's no status quo. You have no love for this. You cannot, the insiders cannot cannibalize a business. An outsider will be needed to cannibalize a business. You talked about Elon. Let's talk about Elon Musk for a moment. How many of you know that till the time he came out with the Tesla, and Tesla fundamentally built on better solar panels. Forget the transmission technology and forget the electric panels and forget all the electronics that went inside. The fundamental thing about a Tesla is how they compressed the lithium-ion battery and how they put it on the floor of the car, right? That's fundamentally what it is. Everyone accepts that? No challenge, right? Very good. How many of us know that Elon didn't just wake up one day as a brilliant disruptor and manufacture those panels? How many of us know that for 3 years, he kept struggling selling those panels in a Home Depot store for people to buy it and put it on rooftops? so they could do the regular residential rooftop conversion of electricity. He struggled with it. It took 3 years as an insider to figure that part of the technology, to figure the compression, to figure the panels, the thickness, the width, the whatever is called the latency of the velocity of conversion. All of those factors took 3 years. You had to be 3 years in it to figure out with all the resources of Elon Musk. And then we say, oh, the man's brilliant. He wakes up and he puts Tesla out on the market, or he puts a SpaceX on, or as a reusable rocket. No, there's a lot that's happened. It takes an insider to do it. So, Anurag, my thought is, I think every sector is going to see it. Biotech is going to see it. Clean tech is going to see it. We're going to see it in pharmaceutical, in healthcare delivery. I think Modi, in doing Ayushman Bharat, has created the most fertile ground for healthcare disruption. Healthcare at home, absolutely. All of that we're going to see. We're going to see insurance, therefore, how insurance is delivered, how insurance is priced. Now think about it. Obviously, insurance is a great example. India's insurance penetration is minuscule. It doesn't take anyone to figure out that India would be the world's largest market on insurance, digital or otherwise. It's about how you underwrite it. Insurance is about how you underwrite it. Then you'll figure out how you deliver insurance, how much technology comes in, how your dealer channels are, how your origination of customers is. All of that comes later. So again, Anurag, going back to that whole thing, it is about how much do you understand yourself and your space. If you as founders understand your space, any space, you might choose to be a milk manufacturer or a distributor, or you might end up being an insurance manufacturer or producer. If you understand it, the volumes are there, but you need to know your space. Sorry? Yeah, show the volumes, show you understand it, show you're doing.
Don't give us the name of the companies, but
Yeah.
give us a flavor of where
So that is easy for me, and that's self-branding, self-talk, so that's easy. So I'll tell you one conscious decision we have made, just like I was talking. So conscious decision is, if we are going to work with startups and founders, we should understand a few areas better than some other investors, because at the end of the day, we are also in a competitive ring, right? So we did a lot of self-introspection. What are the 3 areas or 2 areas we understand really well? So we captured it as follows. We understand supply chain really well. We understand human capital really well. And we understand the intersection of IT and OT, information technology and operational technology, whether it's blockchain, it's IIoT, it's whatever. We understand that reasonably well. If we understand these 3 reasonably well, we are happy investing in those businesses which are innovating, not disrupting, who are innovating where any of these 3 are challenged: supply chain, human capital, or IT/OT intersection. These 3 are horizontals that cut across a lot of industries, so it gives us a lot of latitude to play in. We are not limited with one, so we'll go anywhere where these 3 are broken. That's how we look at it. Yes?
Yeah, Mr. Rohit, the way you highlighted about disruption and self-destruction, can we take the example of like Vijay Mallya, Nirav Modi and all these people also in the same category?
Yes, and Anurag will handle this question much better, trust me. Yeah. Anything else for me, Chetan? I'm done. Thank you very much. I enjoyed being here.
I'd
Hey,
like to
Rohit,
request.
there was one last question. I got the mic, but I didn't get the opportunity to ask.
Where is Mr. India? Can I please see it?
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, this is Mr. India. Thank you. So, so Rohit, the question is like, I just wanted to understand from an investor's eye, we come across a question from the investor that, hey, you know what, I understand your idea is great, it's unique, it has innovation, but a lot of times they have a fear, there's a fear that a big player would come in and probably take on that idea at a much larger level because they have investments, they have funds, they have marketing. So how do you tackle such questions with investors.
And you're saying, asking this question to me as a founder to a...
As a founder, so
Very good.
I run a wellness travel company.
I really love this question. I think we raise our stakes very high. We make life a 1-0. So when 1 doesn't happen, the world declares us as a 0. And that applies as a founder when we would go to an investor and say, I'm going to take over this segment and be the dominant leader in this segment, and I'm going to just obliterate. I'm just going to disrupt everything in that segment. You make such tall claims, you make such tall 1-0 statements that 1 doesn't happen for sure. It never happened with anyone for sure. 1 will get delayed by 2 years, 1 will get delayed by 3 years, sometimes 1 doesn't happen, and therefore the only obvious that happens is a 0. And then you get declared a 0. So my suggestion is, expectation management with investors is very vital. It is perhaps the single most important thing. I'll tell you, I've come across so many investors, so many founders. A mature founder, and mature doesn't mean age-wise mature, by the way, so please don't take me on that. But a mature founder, even in their 20s, versus an immature founder in their 40s or 50s, so irrespective of age, would do expectation management extremely well. They will not oversell. So stop overselling. The moment you stop overselling, when the day doesn't come and you've still not met your goals, which you will not, you certainly will not, you'll still be okay.